Hey, Sean, what was your reaction this morning when you found out that Carson has this back injury?
Well, I think just like anything else, I was surprised. But Carson's a great player. He's played really good football. But as far as if he's able to go or if he's not, really our preparation doesn't change throughout the week because you're looking at if it's Nick that's stepping in, leading you guys to a world championship and playing really good football, especially down the stretch. So. It's a great challenge for us either way. I think, just as a coach and someone that's a fan of the game, I hate to see that for somebody like him that's overcome some adversity and been playing really well. So, you don't know if he's out or not, but I just hate to see injuries, period, in this game because, you want to see players be able to go compete and do what they love.
Hey, Sean, you kind of dealt with this situation last year when the Eagles played there. Obviously Carson got hurt late in the game and everything, and Nick came in. What do you remember from that game, just the way Carson played and how it turned out and everything?
Yeah, I just remember it was a good high-level caliber of football, both teams going back and forth, Carson making some unbelievable plays on schedule, off schedule. One of the things that stands out is the toughness that he demonstrated by being able to stay in there after he had already done it when he gets hit by Mark Barron on that run and throw the touchdown on the fourth down. What a gutsy play. And then you remember Nick coming in and doing an outstanding job of finding a way to hit Aguilar on the third down that kept him on the field. Chris Long did a great job forcing a turnover at the end that led to the field goal that ended up, kind of putting them ahead when we were up 35-34. But it was a great game back and forth. But ultimately, they were able to come away with the win, and they deserved it.
Sean, everyone's been talking about Aaron Donald this season, and the Eagles' offensive linemen today were praising both your defensive tackles. What has Sud brought to the team? And he's not getting the stats necessarily Aaron is, but what has he been doing that making life easier on Aaron or just making life tough on other offenses?
Yeah, I think anytime that you've got multiple threats, on the front that dictates and determines kind of how you want to protect and how you want to, lend presence based on the front structure that you're in with your center or whoever your uncovered is always something that's a benefit. Dominican's done a great job of playing really a lot of different roles where he's playing end, he's playing inside, and he's definitely influencing and affecting the game in a variety of ways. And then what else can you say about Aaron other than he's been outstanding? He played really well last year, and he certainly has gotten better. The way that he competes every single day is a reflection of what you're seeing show up on Sundays or, whenever it is that we're playing. And the guy that loves football, he's extremely talented, and he kind of demonstrates how to go about your business the right way week in and week out, and he's never complacent.
Sean, Jared and Carson, obviously the number 1 and 2 draft picks from 3 years ago, and they know each other well. They share an agent. How much do you think there's some sort of friendly competition there between those two? Obviously, you would know Jared better than Carson, but do you think that's at play?
I think there's a respect that they have for each other. And, anytime you're a competitor, you want to win. But I think both of them would probably tell you that Jared's going against Philadelphia's defense and Carson would be going against our defense. So, it's about playing good football. I think you always want to win. But to say that it's kind of, a little bit ramped up because of where they were drafted, I think there's a mutual respect that they have for each other. And then obviously with Ryan Toner representing them both. But I know Jared thinks the world of Carson, but no different than any other week, whether Carson's the opposing quarterback or not, we're going to do the best we can. And I know Jared's the same about trying to come away with a win against a tough team.
Sean, what are the biggest challenges you try to create with your tempo offense for defenses?
I think, just mixing it up a little bit. I think our players' ability to change it up is what makes it unique. And, one of the advantages that we have offensively is deciding when that ball is going to be snapped within the framework of the 40-second play clock or 25 coming out of a stoppage. And that's something that we try to do. But, like any other week, certain weeks dictate a different approach. And, that's something that, we're kind of evaluating as the week progresses.
Now, you stay in 11 most of the time. So you're not making substitutions isn't a big priority for you as opposed to a defense that likes to rotate its linemen or something like that. That creates a problem for them, doesn't it?
Sometimes it can, but then you also don't want to be, you want to be mindful of the fact that if you are playing with the same guys, that the idea isn't to gas them out either. So, when you do send guys down the field or when you have some explosives or different things like that, You want to be able to mix it up throughout the course of the game. I think you want to be careful going tempo every single snap because, what the thing that you like to utilize to your advantage is not knowing when you're going to access or activate it. But yeah, it can sometimes help us. But, the way that the league is structured too, sometimes even if we are staying in the same personnel grouping, if the ball goes out of bounds on our sideline, they don't know if we sub or not, so they'll stand over the ball. So there's some times where even this year where we've had some big gains and then we get on the ball, but, we have to wait because the refs have to properly get themselves aligned in the position to be able to officiate and see the guys that they're responsible for looking at on that given play. So it's a give and take, but, being in the same personnel, it certainly doesn't hurt us for sure.
Coach, a little bit out of left field. You guys actually just re-signed Jamil Demby, an offensive lineman, today. He's a local South Jersey kid. Just curious what you're excited about bringing him back in the fold off of the Lions practice. I know he's a draft pick of yours.
Yeah, it was a tough decision for us. When we put him on the practice squad and didn't activate him, that was a tough decision because Jamil had done a lot of good things throughout the preseason. Detroit ended up kind of taking him from us, and then when they moved him back down, we kind of had a spot, based on Dominique Hatfield's injury, and he was somebody that, our coaches and our personnel staff felt strongly about and wanted to be able to bring him back. And he's a great kid that has a good demeanor, a good competitor, and we're excited to get him back in the mix for us.
Sean, I know you leave most of the defense to Wade, but you're as much as you play 11, the Eagles last week and for a lot of this season have played a lot of 12. They've got two very good tight ends, as you're well aware of. How much of a challenge does that present to a defense to when you can play 12 that much and have versatile tight ends like they have?
Yeah, I think it's a great weapon to be able to have, especially when you're looking at with Goddard and Zach's ability to play in line and be able to compete as blockers, but then also be movable pieces that can make plays, with the ball in their hands. So anytime that you have those players that can do a lot of different things, kind of in a similar but obviously a little bit different, those tight ends and those backs that can do a lot of things are the ultimate jokers that really give you a chance to present a multitude of things out of the same personnel grouping, to a defense. And certainly, I think Coach Pederson does an outstanding job of putting, his players in spots to accentuate their skill sets. And, a player like Zach is certainly your ultimate chess piece that he can play tight end, but you can certainly displace him in the slot. You can split him out wide, and he's got a chance to be, a favorable matchup for you no matter who you put out there.
Hey, Sean, you spent a lot of time in your career game planning for Fletcher Cox, I imagine. What stands out about him?
Yeah, I just think how disruptive he is. I mean, one of the things I really respect and appreciate about him is just the relentless effort that he plays with. Clearly, he's a powerful guy that can work edges, extremely strong, explosive player. But I just think, certain guys where you're just watching the tape, even if you're not even really locked in on certain players, they kind of just jump off the screen. And Fletcher's been one of those guys that's done that consistently. And I think Coach Schwartz does an excellent job, in some of those known passing situations, putting him in spots that can get them some favorable matchups.
As a play caller, how much time have you studied Doug Pederson's play calling?
Oh, a lot. Doug's one of the guys that I have a whole lot of respect for. And, when you've got the ability to access the film, you want to see what these great coaches are doing week in and week out, because I know that he's been doing it a lot longer than I have, want to be able to learn. And there's certainly things that your guys' offense puts on tape week in and week out that is something that, gives us a chance to learn as coaches from. And Doug is certainly one of those guys that you study his stuff.
Sean, since you've lost Cooper Kupp, you've been kind of rotating people in the slot?
What's happened is, Josh Reynolds has stepped into that role as far as, being the third receiver that's on the field, but then Robert Woods has kind of played in that spot. Now, we try to make our receivers interchangeable, but if you said who's the one that's really been taking the majority of the snaps at the spot that Cooper was playing, really it's Robert Woods has transitioned inside, and then Josh Reynolds has overtaken Robert's role that you saw those guys playing earlier in the year. But we try to have our receiving group be versatile and movable pieces for us, and that's really kind of what they all provide. But I would say if you said who's the one that's taken the majority of the snaps at our F position that Cooper played, it would be Robert Woods.
Sean, what were your impressions of Nate Sudfeld working with him in Washington?
Yeah, I really liked Nate. Nate's got a great way about himself. He's got some natural leadership traits and characteristics. He's played in the gun the majority of the time, playing at IU, and did a great job spreading it around. And I think as he got more and more comfortable, he did a nice job. One of the things I remember being really impressed with Nate is he didn't get a whole lot of reps, when I was with him, just based on the nature of having Cousins and Colt McCoy in the fold. But when he got into some preseason games, there's really no other way to put it other than he's kind of a baller, man. He just was able to make some plays, did some things with his legs when we changed the launch point on boots, made some throws down the field. And really, great guy. I think, just watching with some of the opportunities he's had to grow in Philly, whether it be the preseason or some regular season games when he played last year, I've been really happy for Nate and wish him nothing but the best.